Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Amber Vaughn, and I'm joining you again for another session, another workforce employment session brought to you by Community Based Connections. They are an organization here in Broward County that is doing amazing things to change the outcomes for the youth and families that we have here in the county. So if you haven't heard of them, I want you to do me a favor. Go to their Facebook page, like it. So that's Community Based Connections, Inc. Like their page so you can stay posted on all of the things that they're doing to impact and serve the community. So again, my name is Amber Vaughn. Thank you all so much for joining me for tonight's session. We're going to have a frank conversation. Tonight, we're talking about overcoming employment barriers. So if you've joined us in previous sessions, we've talked a lot about all of the things that you can do to better position yourself for employment opportunities. But for everyone, that transition isn't as simple. Sometimes there are things that get in our way, whether that's due to our background, previous employment history. Those things are called employment barriers. So tonight we're going to have a frank conversation about the employment barriers, the challenges, the roadblocks that many of you have faced just securing employment. So I want you to get comfortable. I'm going to be monitoring the chat. So I definitely want you to ask questions because tonight is all about you. I have over 10 years of experience working in a reemployment career services capacity with the Bureau of Prisons, the state of Florida, higher education institutions. And in each one of those roles, I've helped job seekers just like you on what they can do to gather the skills, the knowledge, the abilities that they need to secure employment and not just a job, right? But a career that helps to move them and their family forward. So again, if you have any questions or you want to chime in here, this is a discussion. It's all about you. I'm here just for you. So I want to hear from you. Be sure to drop your questions in the chat so we can have a really robust conversation. So next slide for me, please. We're going to talk about what employment barriers are. So a barrier is anything that is immaterial, that impedes or separates you from where it is that you're going. It's an obstacle. And in an employment situation, an employment barrier can be any of these things. It can be your criminal history. It can be a disability, physical or mental. It can be that you don't have a high school diploma. It can be that you don't have a bachelor's or a master's. It can be that you haven't worked continuously in previous employment situations. It can be anything that's impeding you from the career that you want. Any of these things that are listed here can serve as impediments to your career. And we're going to talk all about them tonight and how you can get past them so you can get moving and be where it is that you want to be in your career, in your life, financially. So we're going to talk a lot about these. So let's go to the next slide, because what we're going to talk about is how to discuss this. This is the elephant in the room, and newsflash. Everyone has a barrier to employment. So if you're feeling like I'm the only one with the criminal history, I'm the only one who's gotten fired, I'm the only one who can't keep a job, I'm the only one who doesn't have transportation or childcare, you are not the only person to have faced those situations, and you're not the only person that's gotten through them and secured employment. So the first thing that you want to do is be honest, whether that's childcare. And in certain situations, maybe you can't read as well. Maybe for you, that's a barrier to your employment, right? Whatever it is, be honest with your employer, be honest with the interviewer, and be honest with yourself. Because if you're not having honest conversations, there's no way that you can move forward. And also from an employment perspective, if you're not honest with that employer, they don't know how to help you. So for instance, for my people with disabilities, there are ADA accommodations out there that can help you in doing your role, right? But if you're not honest with that employer because maybe you're insecure or you're embarrassed about it, then they don't know how to better support you in that role or through that application process. So no matter what it is, you want to be honest about it. But also you want to be confident in whatever information it is that you're conveying, right? So for example, I work a lot right now with students who have completed boot camps and they're transitioning into employment. For some students, they're transitioning into these boot camps because they're like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I don't like my job as it is, and I want to switch. I want to do something different. I want to code. I want to do something with my hands. But for others, it's because their backgrounds have become impediments to them securing employment, so they had to explore non-traditional routes. Whatever it is your reason is, you want to be confident in your response. So what I always offer to job seekers is no matter what it is that you're saying, the employer will believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. So for example, if you're someone who may have background issues because maybe you're a returning citizen and you're like, well, I do have a felony, or you're saying it like you're insecure, you're not comfortable articulating what the situation was, then that's going to give the employer pause. That's going to give them pause on hiring you. That's going to bring up questions for them because they're like, well, this person doesn't feel comfortable with it. This person doesn't feel confident in their explanations. We all have a background. We all have a past. Whatever it is, it's okay. But you have to be confident and honest when you're talking about those situations. But also keep it short and sweet. We don't want to dwell in the past. We don't want to talk a lot about our situation, whether that's I've been homeless for the past 4 years, because homelessness, especially right now, that's a real thing. It's okay if you're homeless. It's okay if you don't have transportation, childcare, whatever it is. It's okay. You don't have to dwell on that in your response. So, for example, if I was someone who was maybe fired from my last job, I wouldn't talk when they say, so tell me about your last employment, Amber. Tell us, it seems that you were laid off from this position or you were fired. Tell us more about that. That would be a situation in which I would say, well, in my last employment situation, I was terminated from that place of employment. However, since being fired, I've had a lot of time to reflect on the things that contributed to me being terminated. Now, looking back on that situation, I would have done so many things differently. I see that there are ways in which I could have communicated better, in which I could have followed up more with my employer. You see how we pivoted? We talked a little bit about being terminated, but we talked more about what it is that we're doing right now. So what that is so if you're looking at the next bullet, you see I have barrier, reflections, and lessons learned. We want to talk about the barrier. Keep it really short, keep it really sweet. Like, don't give them a long drawn out story, because the more you talk, the more you volunteer information. And not all the time when we keep talking like that, are we saying things that are going to help us? So we want to keep it short and sweet, right? So I talked about the barrier. I talked about, okay, now looking back on this position, these are some things that I see that I could have done differently. And now our lessons learned, because just because we fall doesn't mean that we can't get up and do things differently the next time when we give it a try. You can either form your answers like that, or you can say, your barrier plus the strategy and then the results. So for me, sometimes time management is a really tough thing for me to get a handle on because I'm juggling so many things. So for me, sometimes time management is an issue, but what I say is what I'm doing to combat that issue. So for example, in my interview, if they were to ask me, so tell me, Amber, what's a weakness? Don't we all hate that? So tell me about a weakness answer when you go into an interview. I absolutely loathe it, but it's not about the weakness. It's how you respond to that challenge. So if I say that my weakness is time management, I would say, for me, an area of opportunity is time management. However, what I've done to make sure that I'm just more on top of things, I calendar out everything. I send myself Google invites. I use my Google reminders. I have an actual written down calendar because I live on this thing. So talk about what it is that you're doing so that that barrier, that challenge, that area of opportunity, that weakness is not impacting future outcomes or future progress. So again, we don't want to talk too much about what it is that we don't have or what we lack or what maybe we're not that good in. We want to talk about how we're improving, what lessons we've learned, how we've reflected on that. So it's not about how you fall, but it's about how you recover once you do fall. Because, spoiler alert, at some point in your life, unless you were just ridiculously lucky, you will get fired and you will get laid off. That's just the nature of the beast. And that's okay, because there are ways to talk about this. There are ways to talk about all of the things that you feel like are holding you back from where it is that you see yourself going. But write it out. Write down what it is that you want to say. I always tell job seekers never to go into an interview and just freestyle it. You don't want to freestyle it, because they're not freestyling it. I guarantee you they have interview questions written down for you, and they're going to expect your answers. And the last thing that you want to do, especially when you're nervous in an interview situation, you got your thoughts all over the place, maybe your stomach is growling, your palms are sweaty, whatever it is, the last thing that you want to be doing is thinking, oh my goodness, how do I respond to this? What do I need to say? So write it down. Write it down and then practice what it is that you've written. Practice those questions that you feel like may stump you up in an interview. So that way, when you get into that interview, they'll feel so natural. It'll feel like a conversation. And honestly, that's what an interview is designed to be like. It's a conversation. It's a very nerve-wracking conversation, but a conversation nonetheless. So write down your answers. Practice those. I like to practice my interview answers with kids or family members, because children and my family are super honest, and they're going to tell you, hey, I didn't believe that. That wasn't convincing. It sounded like you were nervous. It sounded like you were a little embarrassed, Amber. It sounded like whatever it is. So you have the opportunity to go back in and tweak those answers. We don't want our first time answering questions about our work history or our background or lack of work history to be the first time when we sit down for that interview, because it's not going to go well. Practice doesn't make perfect, but it does make progress. So write down what it is that you want to say, practice it. Make sure to keep it short and sweet. We don't want to take them all down a rabbit hole about how we didn't like our employer and how they were out to fire us and all of those things. Keep it short, sweet, be confident, and be honest with yourself and the employer that you're having those discussions with, and make sure that you use the method that I'm sharing here in this presentation. So we're going to go to the next slide, but also what I'm going to do is just hop on Facebook and see if we have any questions. So again, we're live. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat, because again, would love to hear from you. Tonight is all about you and how we can make you better for the career ahead. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. Alrighty, it doesn't look like we have any questions right now, so that's awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and go to the next slide, please. All right, so what do you do? Like, how can we overcome these employment barriers? What do we need to do? Because they're out there, they're real, and it can be so frustrating. It can be so confusing. It can be a lot of things. I always tell job seekers that the job search itself is brutal. It's so brutal. So we need to have a plan in place. And one of the things that I recommend that you all do is research the industry or the career that you're going into. Because if you don't research it, you're going to go into it blind. And you don't want to go into it blindly, especially if you're one of those people that are a returning citizen. If you have background issues or anything like that, you definitely want to give some thought to the occupations that you're considering. So for example, I shared with you all that I work with boot camp students, right? So one of my programs that I work with is the cybersecurity program, and that has all to do with intelligence, information, cybersecurity, right? And I have a student who stole some IDs back in the day, and because of that, he has that on his record, and he got charges for that. Unfortunately for that student, that impacts his job search, and that impacts his ability to secure gainful employment. And unfortunately, had he done just a little bit of digging and a little bit of research, he would have been able to navigate around this. But because he didn't, now he's only now he can only assume a small segment of positions because he's limited because of his background. So do your research. Do your research for wherever it is that you want to go, even if you feel like this is my long shot position. I won't be here for another 3, 5, or 10 years. That job description, that industry profile is going to tell you everything that you can do to be the best version of yourself to apply for that job. So definitely do your research so you know what licenses, what certifications, what education you need, but also you can see where your job market is booming, right? Where the opportunities are, where the careers are, where the most growth is. But then also Reach out to people who are in field with you. I absolutely love LinkedIn, and that's LinkedIn. So that's www.linkedin.com. LinkedIn is Facebook for professionals. I absolutely love it. And if you do not have a free LinkedIn account, I strongly encourage you to get one, because it's how you stay connected with employers, companies, see who's hiring, see who's not, but also it's an online place to network with other professionals. If you have the gift of gab, if you are a connector, if you are a networker, then LinkedIn is the place for you, because that's where you can go and see, hey, well, who's hiring over at Coca-Cola, or who are some employees at Coca-Cola? I was really looking at this district manager position and I see that Ariel works there. I should reach out to her. And the good news about LinkedIn is that people expect for you to reach out to them. They expect you to connect with them. They expect you to message, because it's all about networking. So if you're uncertain about the industry that you're going into, find the company, find some people that work there and that have those titles that you hope to assume, and shoot them a message. Say, hey, Ariel, I would love to chat with you. I see that you've had a really long career with Coca-Cola, and I'd love to know how you got your start, or I'd love to hear more about how you got your start with them. Can we connect? People love that. People love to be seen as the experts. They love to be consulted. They love to be seen as like the industry expert in whatever it is. So reach out to them. Now, I won't say that everybody that you reach out to is going to message back, because everybody won't, and not everyone checks their LinkedIn like that. But those who do will be invaluable resources to you. They're going to share links. They're going to share information. I've had it where students have and not just students, but job seekers. I've had it to where job seekers have reached out to people, industry decision makers at the company. And those people have said, hey, well, you know what? We're not hiring for this position, but we are hiring for something, for this one. Check over there. Reach out to this person. Oh, here's the recruiter that I went through. Why don't you go through that recruiter? And I'll send over your information. All types of things can happen to you when you send out that message, but you got to make yourself available. So if you're nervous about it, or it feels awkward, or it feels icky, or it feels disingenuous, that's okay. Push through, because I'm telling you what works. You want to find somebody that works at that company, and just a simple hello. I'd love to know how you got your start with XYZ company will do the trick. And if it doesn't work for one person, try it on another person, because I guarantee you a yes and a wealth of information is out there if you check it. So also connect with people who have similar barriers. So for one of my programs in Arizona, I have a lot of students that have come from other countries. And because of that, sometimes for them, language can be a barrier to employment. And the first thing that I do is I connect them with other students that have graduated the program that share those same nationalities and backgrounds. Find people that have been through your same situation. Find people that have also maybe struggled in employment, have maybe not had consistent work history, but now that you see they're at this nice company, or they've been in this position for a long time, find people that you can identify with. When you have people that have common interests, common backgrounds, those people can be so invaluable to you. So for example, I graduated from Florida A&M University. And the first thing that I do when I go to network with somebody is I see what university that they went to. If they went to FAMU, it's like score. But if they went to a HBCU, it's like score. We still have something in common. And anytime I reach out to someone and I say, oh, I graduated from FAMU, or oh, you went to an HBCU too, it's like the doors of information just open for me. So find people that you share common things with, but also volunteer. So when I was working for the Bureau of Prisons, I had a lot of clients that I was working with that had not worked in about 18 years. I think one of my clients, the longest he had been incarcerated was about 23 years. So in 23 years, he hadn't necessarily had a job. And because of that, employers would take one look at his resume and say, you haven't worked in 23 years. I'm not hiring you. So if that's your situation, if you are watching this right now and you are a returning citizen, I want you to really think back on your time incarcerated. Did you work in the kitchen? Did you work on detail? Did you work in the laundry room? What did you do? So for my clients that had work history while they were incarcerated, they were doing what they considered little jobs. We put those little jobs on their resume. And instead of saying Douglas Correctional Institution, we would say DCI, and that they were a shift lead or a crew lead or whatever that was their position title was, because they had titles. So we would put DCI on their resume, their title, and then their dates of employment. And guess what? It worked. But for those of you who are like, okay, well, that's not even me. I don't have any work history, Amber. I don't have anything. That's okay, because the best way to gain experience is to get experience. But how do you get experience when you're like, nobody is hiring? You volunteer. And I'm going to give you a few reasons why volunteering is just absolutely awesome. So when I was working for the Bureau of Prisons, we encouraged our residents to volunteer. Volunteering allows you to build references. It allows people to see how you work. It's like a trial basis, right? It's like your free trial from HBO or whatever a free trial is, right? It's your free trial, and they get to see for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, however long you're volunteering, how you work. Do you show up on time? Are you a good communicator? Are you a team player? They get to see all of that and how you perform in an environment in which you're not getting paid. So if that's how you perform and that's how seriously you take your volunteer position, they're like, well, imagine how much this person would give if we could pay him or her. So volunteer, it allows you to build references. It allows you to close up some of those gaps on your resume, so it doesn't just look like I've just been out here jobless. And people love to see volunteer stuff on your resume because it shows that I am this full human. I am out. I'm not only trying to secure employment, but I'm helping my community. I'm a good citizen. I'm out here doing something to gain the skills that I need to better position myself for employment opportunities. So if you're someone who's like, okay, I don't know where to start, look at your local homeless shelters, look at your local churches, look at the organizations that they have in your area. Look at Habitat for Humanity. There are so many ways for you to volunteer. And then look at those organizations and say, okay, where could I volunteer that I think it would better position me for something in the future? So for a lot of our guys that were coming, that were returning citizens, they wanted to work in construction. They wanted to do something labor related. So we paired them with Habitat for Humanity. How awesome is that they want to go into construction, they want to do something labor related, and they also have volunteer experience saying, hey, this person has volunteered. The people who were the site supervisors, whenever they would go out, raved on them, talked about how awesome they were, how professional, but also they talked about, hey, and if this person ever needs a reference, let me know. I love to speak on their behalf. When you do amazing work, especially amazing work for free, people will be more than willing to advocate for you, to pass your resume, to vouch for you, to serve as a reference. So volunteering is my number one way to help you to help bridge that gap. If you feel like I don't know how to get there, I guarantee you volunteering is one of the best ways. But also build relationships. It's not just about the relationships that you build through volunteering. It's about your relationships at work. It's about your relationships with your family and your friends. Sometimes people don't have jobs because people don't know that they're looking. Have you told the members of your family? Have you told your church congregation? Have you told the people that you're close with? Have you told them to put their feelers out and say, hey, these are the types of opportunities that I'm looking for? I want you to work on building relationships, not only in your personal circles, but also online. Because remember, LinkedIn, Facebook for professionals, absolutely love it. You can also build relationships on there. But no matter what it is that you do, if you have any barrier to employment, I want you to get in the habit of always going above and beyond. Always send a cover letter. Always send a tailored resume. Always follow up after that interview saying, thank you so much for the opportunity to interview. I'm really excited to continue the interview process. Always go above and beyond whenever you can help it, because we got some stickiness in our past, right? So it's not going to be like, here's my application, hire me. It's not that simple for everybody. So because it's not that simple, you want to give the employer no reason to say no to you. You want them to just be like, oh my gosh, I know that Amber has a background, but did you see that cover letter? Oh my gosh, she was so polite to the team. Did you hear how she talked to Maggie when she came in? She really gelled well. Attitude will take you places that education and experience cannot. So if you can't meet the skill requirement, be the attitude requirement. Be the attitude that others want to be around. Because when you have that attitude, people will open doors for you. They'll seek out opportunities. I've had roles created for me. I've seen roles be created for other people. I had a job seeker one time who bombed the interview, but really, really wanted the position. Followed up with the employer and said, thank you so much for the opportunity to interview. I wasn't my best self, and I was really excited about an opportunity to work for this company. If you can give me one try me out on a trial basis. He basically pitched to them an internship. Not only did they say, okay, sure, to this internship, but they said, okay, we'll sweeten the pot. If you can intern for us for, I think it was 30 days that he had to intern. If he successfully completed the internship, that they would pay him afterward and bring him on full time. Guess what? He completed the internship. They got to see how he worked for free, and they hired him on full time and full salary. So know that when people like you, no matter what your background is, no matter what you feel may be holding you back from the career of your dreams, when people like you, they open doors for you. They refer you. They say, hey, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but we're going to be posting another position in about 2 weeks. I want you to reach out to Barbara and let her know I sent you. So attitude will open doors for you. But also, I said it earlier, the job search is brutal. I absolutely do not envy anyone who is job seeking, because it can play on your confidence. It can make you doubt yourself, what you bring to the table, who you are. It plays mind games on you. And because of that, I don't want you to beat yourself up. It's not about how you fall, but it's about how you recover once you do fall. So if you had a bad interview, if you had a bad couple of years, it's okay. Recover, and don't beat yourself up, because you're going to have to be on your side. You're going to have to be cheering for you when the employers tell you no, when they don't respond to you, when they say, oh no, we're sorry, you're not a good fit. And you're like, but I was the perfect fit. Don't beat yourself up for you. Whatever is for you will always be for you, and it's there waiting on you. So any opportunity that you don't get, that wasn't your opportunity. So don't beat yourself up too much about it. We're going to go to the next screen. So while we're transitioning screens, I'm going to check again to see if we have any questions. And I don't see that we have any questions right now. But if you do, again, definitely put them in the chat and I'll answer them. But also, I'll be sharing my contact information after this session. Hit me up. If you have any questions, you can email me, you can call me, and we can most certainly chat. Teamwork makes the dream work, and I am only here in this seat because of the help and support of others. So let me help you. All righty. So these are some things I want you to keep in mind in regard to your job search, and I kind of touched on a few of these while we were talking. So we're going to go to the next slide. Now, remember, attitude, it's everything. Be the attitude that you want to be around. Attitude will block your blessings. It will block your opportunities. It will block everything, but it can also bring things to you. So when you put out a great attitude, people want to be around that. People will overlook your qualifications, your lack of experience, your background when they like you. So if for only the moment that you pull into that parking spot and interview till the time you leave, be that attitude. Even if you have to cry in the car, fuss and holler at the car, whatever it is, be the attitude that you want to be around, that others want to be around from the moment that you get out of that car until the time that you come back. But again, it's not about how you fall. It's about how you recover once you do fall. I've had some really terrible interviews. I had an interview prior to this position that I have. I almost cried in the interview. And the reason why I almost cried in the interview, because I did my resume and they were like, oh my gosh, Amber, this is amazing. Now tell us something that's not in your resume. And I couldn't tell them anything else that was in their resume, because I gave them like a 2-page resume of everything that I'd done, of all of my qualifications, and I didn't leave anything to the imagination. And they cut the interview short because I had water in my eyes. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Don't be that person. Don't beat yourself up. It's okay. You're going to have good interviews. You're going to have bad interviews. But the very next interview I got after that, I got my job that was paying way more money than the position I cried about. It allowed me to do exactly what it is that I wanted. I got to work from home, so I got to work in my sweatpants. So just because something didn't work out doesn't mean something won't work out. So recover, and leverage your resources. People are resources. I'm going to share this deck with you, and it's going to be full of all sorts of resources for every job search barrier that you can imagine. So leverage your resources and all of the information that I'm sharing with you. But also remember that you're not alone. Sometimes when we have these things that keep us from going to aspiring higher, we think that it's us. We think that, oh my God, nobody else is dealing with this but me, right? You're wrong. There was a statistic that I was reading earlier where I think almost 600,000 people on the last jobs report have been laid off. And guess what? We're in the middle of a global pandemic. If you've lost your job, been fired or whatever, between these last 2 years, it's okay, because you can throw it all on Corona. It's like your work history was wiped away. We don't care if you were fired. You can literally say Corona, and that will eat up a lot of stuff. So know that you're not alone. Everyone is either facing joblessness or know someone who is. So don't be embarrassed. But also, to whom much is given, much is required. We want $30,000, $40,000, $80,000, $100,000 jobs, and know that it's going to take more than, oh, here's my resume. I'm not going to fill out this application because it's all on my resume. Whatever these people want you to do it, because to whom much is given, much is required. They're not going to just say, hey, submit your name and we'll give you this $30,000 position. That's not how it happens. So I want you to get in the habit of doing the work for whatever it is that you want. Anything worth having is worth working for. Think about things like, even when you put something in the microwave, it may say, okay, it only needs 6 minutes, right? 6 minutes, but you were like, oh my gosh, I can take it out in 3. It'll be fine in 3. No. Same thing with your job search. You may be able to get something in a week or 2 weeks, but is that what you really want? Put in the time, the effort, the research that it takes to get the career that really makes your heart smile. If you are to work a full-time job, no days off, that is 2,080 hours a year. That's a 40-hour work week, right? 2,080 hours is a lot of hours to put in at a job you hate. So do your research, do whatever it is that you need to do to prepare for that, because to whom much is given, much is required. And again, the job search is brutal. Celebrate all of your wins, whether you made it to the second round when previously you were only making it to the first round of interviews, or whether you made it past the application phase and you went from, hey, you're not the right candidate, to, oh, we'll call you back. Let's schedule a phone screen with you. Celebrate all of your wins. The job search is brutal. You don't need to beat yourself up. So whether it's a big win, it's a little win, somebody just wanted to connect with you on LinkedIn and maybe share an opportunity, celebrate all of those things. And just because something hasn't worked out doesn't mean it won't work out in the future. So I'm a really big fan of Les Brown. And Les Brown is a motivational speaker out of Miami, Florida. And he has the most inspiring story of how he went from basically a foster kid in, I think it was Overtown, to now this multimillionaire. And he shares this story of the bamboo tree. So I've included the link to the bamboo tree story in here, but to sum it all up, he says that the bamboo tree takes about 5 years to grow. But in between there, you have to water it, you have to tend it, like it's there right then. And for 5 years, you don't see anything. And then almost overnight, I think it grows to 90 feet. That's the same thing with your job search. Just because you don't see something right now from a seed that you planted out there doesn't mean that something isn't working underneath to grow. Doesn't mean that someone isn't calling you back. I've seen situations where recruiters have passed away. I've seen situations in which people have been terminated from companies, and the person who was maybe doing the outreach or the recruiting for that job kind of left some things undone. So a whole bunch of people maybe didn't get responses or emails or anything like that. Try not to internalize those losses, because it may very well not be you. It may be something that's going on with them behind the scenes. So no matter what it seems like, no matter how you feel, continue to keep watering your garden. I've seen situations where job seekers have said, oh my goodness, I can't believe they called me back. I applied for that position about 3 years ago or 3 months ago. I didn't even know they still had my information on file. Keep watering your garden, because things will happen when you least expect it. And I know that sounds really cheesy, like, yeah, sure. But know that I'm a living witness that things will happen. I used to work for Kaplan University. And prior to working at Kaplan University, I was working part-time for an insurance company, and I absolutely hated it. I hated it. And when I would get off of my part-time job, I would go up to Kaplan University because my best friend was attending school there. I was living in Omaha, Nebraska, and I was away from all of my family and all of my friends. And I would go to Kaplan because I didn't have a computer with me at the time. So I would go there to use their computers. And every day I was like meeting someone new. And then I started passing out resumes because I'm like, okay, well, I need a job. And this seems like a really awesome place. One day when I was on my way to grab a pizza, I remember it. I was driving down 114th Street in Omaha, Nebraska. My phone rang. And the person who was on the other end of that phone was my future supervisor. And she was like, hey, Amber, I just want to know a little bit more about you. And she was asking me all of these questions, and it was almost sounding like an interview. But I'm like, we're not face to face. This can't be an interview. It was an interview. By the time I got off that call, she told me how much I would be making, when I could start, and that I just needed to come in and meet the team. I had not officially applied for the position, did not officially interview for the position, but it was because of the seeds that I had planted. I had given my resume to someone who worked at Kaplan University, and the person who was initially supposed to do the role that I got hired for turned the position down. And then they were like, oh, well, snap, we need somebody. Oh, well, what about that Amber girl? I really like her. She seemed really nice. And that's what the lady said. She was like, you seemed really nice, so I passed your resume along. Because remember, when people like you, they open doors for you, they pass your resume, they vouch for you. And because of that seed that I had planted and just kept on watering, things sprouted for me literally overnight. So no matter how they seem, no matter how you feel, just keep watering your garden. But also guard your peace. I'm going to share with you some things. I do affirmations. I listen to podcasts that are motivational, because during the job search, you have to make sure that you guard your peace. I've been on the other side of the table when I've interviewed people and they seem really grumpy. They seem like they're frustrated. They seem like they have an attitude. And it's not because they don't want the job or they're not excited about it. They're just so used to being let down. They're so used to being let down that they don't even get their hopes up anymore. I can almost tell from a handshake how a person is feeling, how they're feeling about the position, how they're feeling about themselves, their confidence. So guard your peace. Listen to things that keep you inspired. Do things that keep you motivated. Switch it up. Exercise in the middle of the day, whatever it is that you need to kind of just press reset mentally so you don't feel so burdened by the job search. I want you to do that. So I'm going to share with you all in this presentation that I have some resources to podcasts, affirmations, videos, the things that I'm listening to, I'm also sharing with you. But then also in guarding your peace, that could also look like therapy for us, talking through the job search. I used to I used to tell people that I had employment PTSD because for about 3 years, I could not keep a job. I was job hopping, job hopping, job hopping. It made me doubt myself. It made me think that I wasn't good enough. And it was like, nobody will ever keep you. So for about a year with Kaplan University, whenever I got called into the office, I'd be like, are you going to fire me? Are you going to fire me? Are you going to fire me? So I'm sharing with you all the names of some great therapists and some resources, people that are just doing amazing things, but guard your peace. So we're going to go to the next slide. All right. So it doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat, but if you do, I want to give you an opportunity to say something. So if you have any questions about your background, the job search, how to navigate around whatever it is that's keeping you from securing your ideal career, I want to hear it from you. I want to hear more about what you're facing, and don't be shy, because remember, you're not alone. So if you feel like this is a situation that's only affecting you, you're the only one dealing with it, I guarantee you're not. So if you want to send me a private message, you can send it to Amber Danielle on Facebook, or you can put it in the chat if you're feeling comfortable. So I'm going to give you guys about a minute to put something in the chat if you are ready. Let me check. So while I'm doing this, we're going to be doing these sessions quite regularly. So our next session will be the fourth Monday of August. So on that one, we're going to be talking about LinkedIn. You've heard me say a lot about LinkedIn, so we're going to be talking more about that and how you can leverage LinkedIn to get to where it is that you want to go. So if you're interested in that and you're like, wait, I don't know what this LinkedIn thing is, but I want to learn more, then join me fourth Monday, August. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So what you're going to see are just a whole bunch of resources. I love resources because I don't want to just teach you how to fish. I don't want to just give you the fish. I want you to become a fisherman, a fisherwoman. I want you to learn how to do these things for yourself, because you need to be able to maintain when I or other people aren't here. So here's some resources on just having a positive attitude and what it is that you can do to keep yourself in that mental space that doesn't feel so overwhelming. And again, this may sound cheesy, but attitude is everything. And how you feel internally, I guarantee you, will come through in your job search. It will come through in your cover letter. It will come through in your interview answers. Oh my gosh, it will come through in how you answer your phone. So be sure. So make sure that you're guarding your peace, that you're doing what it is that you need to prepare yourself to stay positive and stay in the right frame of mind. But also, like I said, I got some counseling resources here. There are employment training programs out there. There's a career one-stop. So I told you guys I used to work for the state of Florida, right? And I used to work for a workforce board. There is a workforce board in every state. And if I'm not mistaken, in the larger counties. These are places that literally help you with your unemployment. They help you with returning to school, getting certifications and licenses, as well as the job search. They even offer you things as far as childcare concerned. So if you are not hooked up with the workforce board, oh my goodness, then I'm assuming that you don't like free stuff, because I love free stuff. So I've got the links in there to the employment training programs, as well as the career one-stop, as well as some other resources that may help you. On the next slide, I've got things to help you with affordable ways to pay for training. Say, for instance, you have something that you're like, I really want to do this, but I don't have this license. I don't have this certification. I am Team Free 99, and I've put together some resources that help you with gaining additional knowledge for free. So Coursera is amazing. So for my people who are considering technical careers, Coursera is amazing. I put edX in here. Harvard University has a whole bunch of free courses that you can take. Also, if you have LinkedIn and you're paying for a paid subscription, they have like a learning component called Lynda, LYNDA.com. Check out Lynda. It's amazing. But also, if you feel like I could be better with my English, or I could be better with my Spanish, I'm including some resources for you there. But if you are someone who says, you know what, I do have a disability. It's not that simple for me, Amber. I put some resources to help you as well. So I want you all to check all through these resources, save them, share them, whatever you need to do, because they're all really helpful and they can all together move you to where it is that you need to be in securing the career of your dreams. So I don't see that we have any questions as of yet. So this is what I want you to do, because sometimes people get nervous and they're like, I don't want to ask questions right here. That's okay. I want you to email me. So what we're going to do is we're going to stay connected. So on one of the last slides that I have my contact information. My name is Amber Vaughn. You can find me on Facebook at Amber Danielle. You can find me on LinkedIn if you're there, Amber D. Vaughn MSM, or you can email me. You can email me at Amber V as in Victor consulting.com. If you want to email, if you want to message, all you have to do is tell me, hey, Amber, I heard about your session that you did from Community-Based Connections. And what you'll do is you'll get one coaching session for free on me. And then I'm going to just like drown you in resources. I'm going to give you a whole bunch of stuff, because the information that I have is not just mine. I want you all to have it as well. So you can be empowered, you can be informed, and you can be better people, better workers, better job seekers, and we can be really, really on the ball. So with that, I am going to thank my wonderful host for the evening, Community-Based Connections, that is, again, doing wonderful things in Broward County, Florida. If you are in Broward and you have not donated to them, if you've not liked their page, if you're not currently following what they and the executive director, Mr. Mike Obell, are doing in the community, oh my goodness. And this last year alone, they've raised, I think, over $1 million in grants to help families in Broward County. We absolutely have to support the organizations that are doing the work in the community and bringing you sessions like this. So please support Community-Based Connections. Follow them on Instagram, follow them on Facebook, and make sure that you join us again on August. It's August the 23rd. And we're going to be talking about interview basics. Oh, I love it. I love interviews. So come prepared if you want to bounce back questions and responses. I love interviews. So I hope that you'll join me August the 23rd at 6:30 p.m. for another workforce session. My name is Amber Vaughn. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And thank you, Community-Based Connections, for this opportunity. I hope that you all have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you August 23rd.